I don't think there's a political person that's running for public office that because it's 25 million that got drug problems, and I don't know how many of those people are going to be convicted this year of some type of possession charge, or lo and behold, you have a firearm and a bag of dope or whatever. And so what is the collective percentage of those young men and women or older men that have family that are in some type of public service? And I don't think there's anybody that's making the rules at legislature that's going to look at their son and daughter that has a son and daughter, or maybe their grandchild or whatever, and tell them, you can't protect yourself.
Yeah.
Don't put no gun in your house to protect your family. I don't think there's nobody on a conscious level that is a parent that's going to tell their family to do that. And yet we have laws
that prevent it.
That prevent that. I'm not talking about going out here and blazing guns down the street. As an American citizen, as an American brother, okay, we have a right to defend what is ours. And I think that's the basis of how our country became to be, right? And I think we're overlooking and shadow banning a lot of people, not to mention the amount of licensing. You can't own an alcohol license.
Yeah.
Can't be a doctor or lawyer. Can't run for public office because of the infamous crime list, right?
Yeah, I can't run for office with my partner.
Right, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can on a local level, like if I wanted to try to be mayor or city council, I could do that.
You can't run for the state legislature.
I cannot, and I've had this conversation as recent as last year.
And so what is it about you that is not special enough for you to be a public figure and voice your opinion for your elected community?
Yeah.
Nothing. Not one thing. Yeah. And yeah, I get a little heated about it. If people say you get triggered, you damn right I get triggered.
Yeah.
I think more people need to get triggered. You need to stand on what you believe in, because I believe that you would represent a far more margin of what it means to be American, blue collar, working class, taxpayer, the people that build the bridges, weld the rods, right? These are what the fabrics that make this country great, makes Arkansas great, makes this county great. And yet they don't have the right to be represented by someone that speaks their language.
No.
That's wrong.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I don't think I would. You'd be hard pressed to find a state representative that gets out, boots on the ground, and works with the communities like I do.
Dude, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah,
that's arguing about the church. I can't stand the church. Them people want my money. Blah 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 blah. Well, church is there for imperfect people, right? Yeah. And I'm not saying there ain't bad churches. I'm not saying there's good churches. But let a tornado rip ass down Little Rock Main Street, or let a hurricane go through North Carolina, Tennessee. The first people you're going to see just happen to have crosses on their trailers, or they're going to be convicts, or they're going to be recovering.
There'll be somebody out there giving back selflessly.
Right. And so why is that population represented in the fabric of our legislature and community? I don't know. I tell you what it is. And I think it is part of the controlling system. See, what scares them, Jimmy, and not to go on a tangent, I will, it's what someone was talking about Andrew Tate one day. They said, why is it that they attack Andrew Tate? And he says this, he says, it's because Andrew Tate has the hearts of young men. Right. And that's what's scary. That's what's scary about me and you. That you might have the hearts of young men, because young men are what build and fight for this nation. It's what, if you need somebody to dig that ditch with no insurance, get you a young man. You need somebody to die in a ditch over in Afghanistan, get you a young man. And so what happens if somebody that speaks their language, that has a background and character,
somebody they can identify
with, starts winning the hearts of young men?
Yeah.
They pose a threat to the system.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So talking about the system, felonies, how old were you when you went to prison here in Arkansas?
I went down in 2000.
Okay.
Born in 74. And so that's March the 12th for all you scammers. Okay. Get my birthday right. You'll represent. I've got a huge amount of scammers, man. Huge. And so I was 26?
Okay.
26. I went down. I went to Cummins Penitentiary. They had tried to give, they had called me and said, they asked me, said, "We gonna go to work for us?" And I said, "I don't know about all that." And they called me. If you look at the paper, I got busted at Jason's. They said they looked in and see me cutting a kilo of cocaine. It was an ounce. I did have a cleaver. And I was there at 10 o'clock at night during normal business hours. What happened was the guy that sold me the dope called the police. He was working for him, okay? And they, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't tell us who called or whatever and this and that. And so while I was out, I would not act right. I would not go to recovery. I was going to go back to doing what I was doing. They knew it. They'd sit up there at the restaurant, harass us and everything. My mom and dad wasn't involved in the restaurant. They'd come up and help me a little bit here and there, but I'm just got this restaurant that just took off cooking. It's just banging. It's just going crazy. Bam, 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 right? And now we got this urban legend. Everybody's coming in to see that. You got any cocaine? Yeah, and I didn't do cocaine. I did meth. I just bought the cocaine because this girl I was with wanted
It's a coke. Yeah.
well, and the dude said, all he got's ounces. And he had a bushel basket of ounces. It was literally a bushel basket. They were playing Xbox and he kicked the deal and they were falling off, right? That's what it was. Crazy. And so I wouldn't act right. I go to the Motley Crue concert and I leave the Motley Crue concert. I'll leave out some of the explicits on that. But as I parked underneath, it was at the river. You know how you park underneath all that stuff? Well, I can't remember simply where it was down on Broadway or whatever it is. And this guy said, hey man, you got some stuff? I said, yeah. And I had a half ounce in a Tylenol bottle. And I whooped that couple lines. I did that line and I went straight down the road and all them cops were blocking that road. Right, you couldn't go, you had to go on 6:30. And I did a donut right there in front of them. I just did.
Best criminal ever.
It's stupid stuff. And so they pulled me over. I had lost a lot of weight. And when I got out, I stuck a pill bottle in my shorts, and that pill bottle went right through my shorts and landed on the ground. He never saw it.
Yeah.
When he asked me about my ID, I had the money from the till. I pulled it out, and I had 2 driver's licenses that were 4 pieces. They're front back. They've been separated.
Yeah.
I said, he said, sir, I think I'm going to arrest you for DWI. And I was like, well, write me, let's go. And the girls wouldn't drive off in the car, right?
Yeah.
And so I got a second charge and went down, 12 years with Class Y. Did 3 years, got out, was good about a year and a half. Was with Donnie Ford at Dallas County 309. Probably the greatest human in law enforcement I've ever met.
Yeah.
A good guy, man. And really means a lot to me in that area. And come home, pick back up about a year and a half, and then learned how to cook dope.
Yeah. They didn't change it.
Then took the whole dope cooking thing to a whole nother level. Like,
Everybody was manufacturing meth.
manufacturing, come up with a new way. A lot of people didn't know this. I got involved in the internet and then had studied this with this guy. And the problem was they ran out of red phosphorus. Oh, what do we do? Red dope, you know how they are. And so come up with a way to take systemic fungicide, okay, and reduce it and get salts of phosphate. You get mono and phosphate salts, right, which will react. You just got to have phosphorus and you got to have iodine, that makes the production, and then you throw your pills in there, right, and they go with it. But that went across the nation. And I showed 2 guys. Next thing I knew, the whole country was shitty, and people blowing their houses up because it creates phosphine gas, which is highly explosive in the presence of oxygen.
Yeah.
Did all that, man. Had some things with getting clean. About 16, somewhere around there. So we went from like 99 to 2002, 2013. Rebuilding the house down on the lake. Guy calls me, says, man, I need to get paid. And I said, okay, cool. And I left the hotel. I was staying there with my child and the mother of my child. And I went down there to meet him at the Family Dollar right there on 7 South. I had 85 grams. I had 84 grams and 1 gram. And I'm sitting there, and it wasn't a dope deal. It was a legitimate employment. I was paying this guy, and what had happened is my neighbors had called him in So I wasn't down there. I was too strung out to go down there and build my house. I had people down there doing it, right? Real stupid stuff, right? Idiot, loser. And they had called law, and the guy was driving a stolen truck. And so this state trooper goes by and he sees the truck, he pulls in, he gets out and he says, "Who's driving that truck?" And this guy that's with me says, "I am." Well, he handcuffed. He goes back to the car, he gets handcuffed. I'll punch on that gas.
Yeah.
I'll run him, get out, get on, do the Scarface thing with the 1 gram through the other deal, run off, get a fleeing charge, get 12 years for that. They punished me for that one, and then got busted 4 times in 5 weeks because the guy that he handcuffed had a pill bottle with my name on it. He threw his dope out, which I'd made the dope. Wasn't my dope though; it was his. They charged me that
because it was in a pill bottle with your name.
Yes, and so even though they
so you give it to the guy in the pill bottle, your pill bottle, and then he gets the law behind him and he tosses it, and so they bring the dope back to you.
Yeah, right. Because I ran off. And they told me, they said, "You probably beat this one." And then I can't, the second thing was a girl was in front of the house, and the neighbors had called the law again, because I live in a nice little neighborhood. They thought we was fighting. We wasn't. We was just having a good time. And that's got on the street, not because we fought plenty of times before then and after, right? But that day, we was just having a good time. They pull up, and he does a welfare check, and he walks up to her car. Well, instead of going inside the house, she dumps all the stuff in the truck. I'm totally out. It's all on video. They charged me for that, okay? They had my number, right? And so the third time, we had gotten, at that time, I had a long-lasting friendship with Neil Parliament, who went down for prostitution, and from the Houston Sheriff's Department guy. And Neil made some poor decisions, loved him to death, but Neil and my baby's mother had started seeing each other, unbeknownst to me. And I went by my baby's mother's house, which I was paying for, and opened the door. Well, she called the law. That was what do they call that? Residential burglary or some shit. Yeah. And I never take it. I just walked in and walked out. One of those deals, men and women deals. And the 4th time they actually caught me with some dope, was out here on Highway 7 coming off Fox Pass. He said, this is funny. He says, first off, Felix says, "You gonna turn that car off?" Yes, yeah, I know Felix. Felix is a cop. I've known him all my life, And I said, "Yeah, Felix." And I was junked up. And they ran the dog. They said the dog's triggering on the seat. So, well, they said, "Look, Jason," they said, here's what we'll search you one more time. If we can't find no drugs, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you go. And so instead of searching me, he picked me up. It was I can't think of his name, but called him Tiny. You know, there when they call you Tiny. He picks me up and just shakes me, and the dope hit the ground. So, "Why did you tell me?" I said, "Well, I wasn't going to tell you." And I remember being in the back of that car saying, "Thank God it's over."
Yeah, relieved.
And so they come at me they tried to career me out in the feds on my second time down. Didn't work. Federal prosecutor told him, said, "Hey, you got this guy, maybe with 2 grams of dope. He's going to beat these other cases, And so they said, "Here's what we're going to do."
Kicked you back to the state.
They kicked me back to the state. Then they said, "We're going to give you a plea bargain on all this. All right. And if you do not take the plea bargain, then we're not going to offer you a plea on the 2 grams and that you got caught with, and you're already a convicted felon. And we're going to take you to jury trial." I said, "Well, I'll take the plea because you will give me 100 years for this." And so I took it was 30 and it was 54 years. And my mom, and I was so arrogant. I was such an idiot, because I had this big restaurant and everybody knew who I was, and I was a tough guy and had some money, had a lake house, had some fancy cars, I'm Mr. And, I just couldn't handle it. And so my mom says, first off, they tied me to Derek Estelle. And Derek is the guy that made the national news escaping from the jail in Garland County, if you remember that. So well, that was his second attempt, the one that made the news. His first attempt, he was tied to me. And he spits out a handcuff key. And he tells me, he says some things I won't say on here. But he's basically, "You want to go get a girl and get wild?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm already in enough trouble, man." And so someone behind him sees what he's doing. He's unshackling his deal. I'm not saying I didn't cough. I coughed okay for him.
Yeah.
But he jumps when they come up to check the leg irons. He gets wind of it. The guy behind him sees him. And then he blames me because I talked to my lawyer. Well, okay, whatever, dude. But he jumps over the deal and runs right into the bailiff. And the bailiff pulls his gun out. Now, this is perfect. This is in the middle of the courtroom. Okay. All right. And everybody's, you imagine, guns out, got the cops doing this, following him, and he's going right across all the people in the audience, right? And I'll never forget it, man. Out of all that, I could hear my mom going, "Oh my." Yeah. "Oh my." And runs out the deal. They track him out later on the deal. But I stood up in that same courtroom like an arrogant guy was. And that woman asked me, on such and such day, did you such and such do this? And I said, absolutely. That was my response. And my mama, at the end of when I decided to get right, when we got into it, this is years later, this is 4 years, almost 4 years ago. When we got into it was over a kilo, about a kilo. And she told my mom that I was using, I broke crazy. Right. And then she broke crazy on me, blah, blah, blah. One of the deals, nothing I'm proud of. And I took off running. And I went out on her heels and all that and did that and hid. And I talked to Clay Jansky, my attorney. He said, "Do you think you can get clean?" Yeah, I get clean. Because I had relapsed on a pound, and I relapsed, and I got it kind of straight, and I got me a kilo, and I was, here I am. We got this big sack, and I said, yeah, I can do that. So I went out there and buried it, had a guy pick it up, and they got me a hotel room in somebody else's name, and I got me a big box of chicken, and big box with Little Debbie's, and 2 deals of some type of pop, and I went to the hotel, and I got straight, and I turned myself in. But the reason that happened was because that night, after all, it simmered down, the lights went out, I'd creeped out and looked at the police, went back in the woods. I went up there and beat on my mama's door. And she said, "You can't come in here." And that's what changed that really, she didn't come see me and they missed I've been incarcerated for 6 years. They missed maybe 4 times in 6 years. Money on my books, phone calls every day, letters every so often. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you're doing good time.
Yeah, and when she looked at me and she said, "I'm done." And then I drove by and I seen the for sale signs on the farm, and I'm there. I thought, Davis, this has got too far.
Yeah.
And so that was just a progressive process of me making stupid decisions and God correct. Listen, God, this is the thing about God, okay? Jason would come along and put a period in his life, and God would come along with an eraser and put a comma.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And that has been the story. And so when people talk about all this stuff, they talk about how, that I'm going to do this, or I'm going to improve that, or I'm going to maximize my health or whatever. The book of Ecclesiastes says that both the sinner and the righteous, you labor with that day that they don't know, and that's your death. And I know this for a fact, Jimmy, that God is real. If you don't think I don't believe that in some of my videos, I get it. I'm not for everybody, but God is real, and God has a purpose, and He is the author of Jason S. Davis's life. He calls it, not the police, not the dope, not the dope horse that I love so much, because but God Himself, and if I can push that into the people, because I've sat on the floor, man, with the naked, beautiful girl. She's naked. She's ready. She's done her shot. I'm sitting there on the floor. I'm covered in blood. There's 15 dirty rigs, full of blood. I can't get one going. I'm crying. I'm throwing a fit. I've done busted a mirror, and so by the time I get one in my finger, I get that shot in my finger because all my veins are gone. She's done watched it all. She's like, "Hell with this. I'm done. I'm not even high no more." Who wants to be high around that? That was not one event. That was 10 years of that.
Today, that is insane, man. So what does life look like for Jason today?
Man, it's great. I don't know if it's back up. Life is good.
Yeah.
Life has its own presentation of failures and defeats and victories, right? Everybody's healthy. Thank you, Lord. My daughter's back in my life. Thank you for that, Lord. Social media is good. Going to school, diesel mechanics. I own trucks. I run trucks. I'm starting to have relationships with people that are doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
People, I'm bumping up those relationships. I'm getting around people that are making me self-conscious. I think that's very important that you get around people that make you think, man, I need to step my game up, right? Because you're not growing. But I've had some hardships too, but I haven't used, Have I relapsed? What do you call relapsing? I mean, have I done a line? Yeah, I think I've used twice in 4 years, okay?
Yeah.
I did it. Overrated.
Yeah.
It's got too much to lose. Like I got a buddy, and if I called his name, you know him. He's a social media. He's been on the End show. He was going to North Carolina. He bought him a motorcycle, And I thought, well, here we go. And sure enough, he busted his ass. That's what I've had many, many motorcycles. That's what they're good for, right?
Yeah. Hurting you.
And I didn't hear from him. And his girl called me, and I told her, I said, look, he is my friend. I do not talk, because I've been the bad friend. I screwed your old lady, okay? And that's how you become a good friend, is you don't do that stuff no more. And so when she called, I said, I haven't heard from him. And so for like 3 weeks, last 3 weeks, I've walked around and wondered, that dude's got to be dead. Right? And finally I heard from him yesterday. He texted me, he said, I hit him and I hit myself. And I said, I get it. I mean, and what happened? He was on a motorcycle. Guy bumped into him on the side of the road. He said, I didn't know if he was looking at me or the bike. Yeah. This thing you don't know, And so he said, I got off that bike and I went and got me some stuff. And I said, well, are you done? He said, yeah, I'm done. He said, I'm 6 days clean. I said, but he said, what do you think? He said, I'm telling myself I need to get on my social media stuff. Because, you done lost the phone, all those accounts are, how it is, you ain't got none of your stuff. And I said, yeah. I mean, that's what I would do. If you want to be real, you better tell people the truth. And that's all I've done is tell people the truth, man.
Like this video? Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a single content drop in the future, and keep up to date on all future episodes of From Prison to Purpose.